Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
My name is Lucas. 2 days ago, my beloved grandfather Julian passed away in Miami. The cathedral smelled faintly of lilies and old wood polish. My grandfather Julian's coffin rested at the front, draped in velvet, while his empire, my cousins, aunts, uncles, sat dressed in black, whispering like vultures circling. The lawyer's voice trembled as he read the will. To Damien Whitlock, I leave the Kensington estates and their adjoining accounts. Damien grinned smugly, chest swelling. To Helena Markham, I leave controlling shares of Whitlock Construction. Helena dabbed her eyes, pretending grief, though triumph gleamed behind her tears. My chest tightened as I waited for my name. Surely something, anything, would show I wasn't invisible to the man who had taught me chess in our sunlit afternoons. And to Lucas Whitlock, the lawyer paused. The room leaned forward. I held my breath. I leave a one-way ticket to Rio de Janeiro. A ripple of laughter broke the silence. Damien leaned across the pew and whispered, "Maybe you can work as a tour guide. That's about all you're worth." Heat burned in my face. I wanted to shout, to demand an explanation, but my throat closed. My mother's hand squeezed mine, her nails digging in as though to keep me from standing. Tears stung my eyes, not just humiliation, but a deeper wound. Had it meant so little to Julian? After the ceremony, Helena cornered me near the exit. "Take it as a blessing," she said sweetly. "At least you won't embarrass yourself trying to manage real wealth." Her smile was thin and sharp. I walked into the rain, the paper ticket crumpled in my fist. My mind replayed grandfather's final chess lesson just weeks before he died. The pawn seems weakest, Lucas, but it carries the secret of transformation. Never underestimate the smallest move. Those words, once puzzling, now pressed against my grief like a stubborn echo. Could this ticket, ridiculous as it seemed, be the move he meant for me to play? The cathedral bells tolled behind me. I looked up through the rain and whispered, "Grandfather, was this your last game?" And though my tears mixed with the storm, a quiet resolve formed within me. I would board that flight. The humid air of Rio clung to me the moment I stepped off the plane. The city pulsed with life, vendors shouting near the sidewalks, music drifting from open windows, the smell of roasted coffee beans mingling with sea salt. Yeah, it felt like a stranger cast adrift, clutching only my grandfather's cryptic gift. I wandered for hours, questioning why I'd come. At dusk, as I sat on a worn bench overlooking the bay, a voice broke through the chaos. "You must be Lucas." I turned sharply. An elderly woman stood before me, her silver hair tied back, her eyes shimmering with recognition, and something deeper, something aching. "I am Arabella," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Your grandmother." The words slammed into me. "That's impossible," I stammered. "Grandfather said she died." "No, querido," she said, reaching for my hand, her own warm and fragile. "Julian hid us. To protect us. To protect you." Behind her, two figures approached, my Aunt Isabella, strong-eyed and graceful, and beside her, Raphael and Clara, cousins I never knew existed. Their faces bore fragments of mine, as though mirrors shattered and rearranged. I couldn't stop the tears. For years, I had grieved a grandmother who was alive all along. For years, I had been told half a story. Arabella's hand trembled as she pressed an envelope into mine. Inside were photographs. Julian on vast green hills, smiling in the sun with these strangers, my family. Behind them stretched rows upon rows of coffee plants. "This," Arabella said softly, "is his true legacy. A coffee empire. 79 million, yes, but more than that. A life built on love and labor." My heart pounded. The ticket was no insult. It was an invitation to truth, to family, to the game grandfather had set in motion. And for the first time since the funeral, I felt his presence guiding me. Back in Los Angeles, my cousins flaunted their inheritance as if they were kings reborn. Damien posted pictures of himself lounging beside a red Ferrari, champagne glass in hand. Helena showed off new villas with sweeping staircases, declaring them family treasures. But Arabella's words haunted me. "Appearances deceive, Lucas. Look beneath the paint." When I examined the documents Julian had left hidden in Rio, the truth unfolded like a knife-tearing fabric. The construction company Helena had claimed, already drowning in debts, projects half-finished, lawsuits piling high. Damien's estates? Mortgaged beyond repair. Even the cars, every one of them leased. I couldn't breathe. My cousins had been parading ruins dressed in gold. The truth hit harder when Damien showed up in Rio a month later and somehow magically found me. He arrived without warning, storming up the path to the plantation house, sweat and fury dripping from him. "You think you've won, Lucas?" He spat, slamming his hand on the wooden table. "That plantation should have been mine. Do you know how to run it? Of course not. You were always the useless one." I swallowed hard, my hands trembling. Raphael placed a steadying arm on my shoulder. "Leave him be, cousin," Raphael said firmly. "This land was entrusted to Lucas. Respect it." Damien's eyes flared. "Respect? He stole everything from me." His voice cracked, and for a heartbeat, I saw fear flicker beneath his anger. My throat tightened. I remembered us as children, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, watching grandfather guide our clumsy hands across a chessboard. That bond was ash now, burned by greed. Tears pricked my eyes, but I held his gaze. I didn't steal anything, Damien, I said quietly. Grandfather chose differently. Maybe he saw something in me you never did. Damien stormed out, slamming the door, yet the silence he left behind was heavier than his rage. The cracks in his golden facade had split wide open, and something told me the collapse was only beginning. The first morning on the plantation began before dawn. Mist clung to the hills like a veil, and the scent of damp earth rose as we walked the rows of coffee plants. Raphael handed me a pair of pruning shears. Here, he said, guiding my grip. The tree gives more when you cut wisely, just like people. Day after day, I learned. Hands blistered, clothes soaked with sweat. Clara showed me how to cup coffee, inhaling and slurping, searching for hints of chocolate, fruit, smoke. Every bean tells a story, she whispered, and I felt something shift inside me. This was no empire of concrete and debts. This was alive. At night, Arabella would sit on the veranda, her frail voice carrying strength. Julian wanted you to feel the soil, Lucas, to bleed with it. Only then could you claim it. Her words brought tears to my eyes. For once, I felt chosen, not discarded. The turning point came months later when Damien and Helena returned, not as victors, but as beggars. Their fortunes had collapsed, creditors at their heels. Helena's eyes were swollen from crying. Damien's pride hung by a thread. We have nothing, Helena whispered, her voice breaking. Please, help us. Raphael tensed beside me, ready to turn them away, but I saw something else. Two broken figures who had once been my family. My heart ached, remembering the laughter we once shared as children, before greed poisoned everything. I swallowed hard. You can work here, I said, not as heirs, as partners. If you're willing to learn, the soil will give you back your dignity. Damien looked at me, stunned, his voice shaking. After everything, you'd still offer this? Tears welled in my eyes as I answered, because grandfather didn't raise me to take revenge. He raised me to finish the game. And in that moment, I knew redemption was possible, even from ruin. One golden evening, Arabella set a worn chessboard on the veranda table, the same one I had played on as a child. He wanted you to have this, she said softly, sliding a folded note across the wood. My hands shook as I opened it. In my grandfather's steady script were the words, Lucas, wealth is not measured in crowns or castles, but in the trust you build, the sacrifices you make. The smallest gift was the opening move. The real game was waiting for you here. Tears blurred the letters. I placed a pawn on the board, remembering his voice. Never underestimate the smallest move. Damien sat across from me silent, his pride finally stripped away. He whispered, almost to himself, maybe he knew. I wasn't ready. I met his gaze. Maybe he knew we both had lessons to learn. The sun dipped, painting the fields in amber. For the first time, I felt not like the discarded hare, but the chosen player who had reached the other side of the board. Grandfather's last game was complete, and in winning it, I had found not riches, but family.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.